All right, late Thursday. It is December 11th. It feels like, I don't know, the week before Christmas. We still have 3 days before Pats-Bills. Some people are calling this the biggest Patriots game of the 2020s, including our friends over at Pats Chat, Doug Kai, Michael Hurley, who are members, like Pat's Interference, of the fearless, fashion backwards, because we're a bunch of sports writers, fantabulous CLS Media Network. However, no one more fantabulous than our current guest here today. We have not had Ty Dunne on in a long time, one of the best feature writers and just downright reporters you will find in the NFL. You are in Houston, hanging around with the Texans defense and sitting down with coordinators for a long time, but you're here to talk about the Bills because you live in Western New York. I mean, if you want to tell us about Texas and how warm it is down there and delightful, we could start there, but we got a lot to get to.
It's so funny, Andrew. You know, like that defensive coordinator that you referenced, Matt Burke. When I first met him, it was in the middle of training camp 2 years ago, and he, shake his hand. He smacked me on the back, and he goes, "Oh, you're not from here, are you?" I was just like, it was a swamp back there. I am a cold weather climate individual who, I mean, this is probably TMI. I'm very hairy. I sweat a lot. You throw me into 95 degrees in Houston, Texas, and I'm out of my element completely. So yeah, that's how we met. And then he remembered it. Actually, I brought it up today when we sat down, and I'm like, yeah, this is a change. It was negative 10 degrees when I drove the kids to school on Monday. And then I had to actually stay a night in a hotel by the airport because I live about an hour outside of Buffalo because we had 2 feet of snow coming into town. So you go from all of that to, yes, it's like 80 degrees here in Houston. But this is a defense, man. They can play in just about any conditions. Snow, cold, sleet, rain, heat. They just took it to Patrick Mahomes out there at chilly Arrowhead. So I'd imagine that your listeners out there in New England will be learning about the Houston Texans at some point. This could be an AFC championship kind of matchup, I think.
They've become the team that everyone goes, you know who, if I'm a Patriots fan or a reporter, I would not want to see in the first round. I think it's Houston. And as I was just explaining to you, my line in this has been, I totally get it. That defense is the best unit in the AFC. You don't want to see them with the game on the line. But the one team and really player that I would fear more as the Patriots is still Josh Allen in Buffalo because he's the best player in the whole conference. And game on the line, I don't trust the Patriots defense to stop him as much as I do Drake Maye to go down the field. Matt Burke didn't slap you on the back this time around, did he? Though, did he learn his lesson?
I think he learned his lesson. I think he did. Yeah, the fact that he remembered that. I mean, I must have just traumatized the poor.
That is a sweaty
guy.
ass back to be remembered 2 years later.
It is. I know who remembers slapping somebody's back 2 years later, but yeah, I sweat. What can you do, man? I'm a sweaty kind of guy. It's and it's hot. But yeah, it's I'm ready. I'm ready for winter. Like that's it's football. The real football season begins after Thanksgiving. So, out there in Foxborough, Western New York, you got 2 teams that they think they're built for that climate. I can't wait for this game, man. It's going to be a hell of a matchup. I love the Patriots. I love where the Bills are headed too. They've got holes, they've got flaws. There's issues in Western New York. I haven't really sensed this kind of angst out of the fan base in quite some time. And then Josh Allen just throws the team on his back against Tampa, throws the team on his back against who in the hell did they just play? Cincinnati, right? They're down by 10 with 8 minutes to go. 91% chance that Cincinnati's going to win that game at that point. And then Allen just takes over with a little help from the defense finally. So you're right. I think that I get the sense even here in Houston, and they batted him around. I mean, they beat the hell out of Josh Allen. I think that he still is that most feared individual player in the conference. He's the reigning MVP, and he can just detonate at any moment because it's not just the big arm, right, Andrew? Like his legs. I mean, right when you wonder if he's getting a little older and if he's lost a little of that explosiveness, you see him just take off in the snow. He still has that. And then
29. To be able to say that again would just be the greatest gift. Like, oh no, my bones are creaking at 29. Granted, he's also far more the athlete than either of us combined would be. But no, I hear you. Like I've kind of made a little bit of waves this week saying I think eventually Drake Maye will get to be a little bit better than Josh. But the starting point for that argument is to say that's not from a lack of respect. You don't finish 4 times in the top 5 of MVP voting unless you are legitimately a top 5 player in the entire league that many times. And coming off the MVP, whether or not Drake wins this one, or not. The thing that excites me is the fact that we get the two of them now in the division for, I don't know, like years to come until your kids are 29. Like that to me is the most exciting piece because tell me if I'm wrong. I think what that does is set up a rivalry in the way that secondary to what the Bills have had with the Chiefs, even though they haven't drawn blood in the playoffs yet, the Patriots have not had in years. And I think it's going to happen twice a year. You've got stakes, you've got quarterbacks, good head coaches. Is this big rivalry kind of on the horizon like I wrote today? Or am I full of it?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think that, he's 29 and he is a quarterback that has relied on the big arm and the escapability. And, he can get 0 to 60 as fast as any quarterback. And when you're 6'5", 245, whatever he is, that's a lot of man to bring down. But I think that his greatest weapon is his brain at this stage of his career. He's got a photographic memory. And you can just see him out there working through progressions at a rapid rate. And look, he doesn't have receivers and get much separation either. So he's got to read the field at an increased speed. And I think that they have gotten into the habit of late of actually spreading the field out a little bit with these wideouts, with these tight ends, with their backs, and trying to let Josh Allen go to work. So to answer your question, I think that suggests that he is a quarterback that can keep this thing going when the physical traits inevitably decline a little bit. Like he doesn't rely on that stuff. That's not the foundation for his game. The foundation for his game is everything between the ears. So yeah, if they can keep surrounding him with talent, and I'm sure we'll get into it, that's been quite the debate in Western New York. Are they doing enough for Josh Allen at this stage of his career? They keep doing that, and the Bills. That's the thing. My concerns would be, can the Bills stay up there in the AFC? I'm not worried at all about New England. I mean, I think New England is set to be a Super Bowl contender for the next 10 to 15 years, as long as Drake Maye is the quarterback. This dude is a stud. He should be the MVP. If he beats Josh Allen, if he beats Lamar Jackson, they're 3 combined MVPs. I think he is the MVP. And look, Joe Burrow took the Cincinnati Bengals to the Super Bowl in year 2 off of a torn ACL. And was a play away from winning that game, right? If Quentin Spain can block Aaron Donald for a split second, he finds Jamar Chase. Jalen Ramsey falls down. It's an epic play that lives forever in Super Bowl lore. Why can't Drake Maye get to the Super Bowl and win it, especially in that AFC to get there? It's wide open.
See, if I didn't know you better, I would think this is subtle pressure from someone in Western New York who's complimenting, but the facade is just to lay it on to the point you finish the point and you're like, yeah, you should get to a Super Bowl ASAP. And if you don't, it's a failure. But I know you better. And I want to back up really quickly because you were here in New England for a while and did a great, deep, long form that goes into the end of the Belichick era and fresh details that were unearthed. Just a quick snapshot as to also a way to sell people to go subscribe to Go Long, as more than 35,000 people have at your Substack. What did you learn that you did not expect coming to visit Mike Vrabel, Drake Maye, and just kind of getting the vibe? Because you've got a much better frame of reference than, frankly, I do, and a lot of people who work in New England because you've just been in other markets, Houston, Bills, Green Bay, etc.
Well, thanks a lot, Andrew. And I can't thank all the Patriot fans out there who have found Go Long and wanted to go back into the time machine, because it was ugly at the end. And I think you start there is, how did this great empire just crumble to ruins? And on the outside looking in, I kind of just assumed that Gerard Mayo and it is true to an extent. I mean, they were in over their heads. I mean, Gerard Mayo clearly wasn't ready when he should have been ready. I mean, it's in your contract. You're taking over for Bill Belichick. You think you'd have this loaded staff ready to go, a vision ready to go. But all he's known is Bill Belichick. All he's known is the Patriots. So he didn't really have that perspective of anything outside of that building, where it is much different in the other 32 markets than everything that Belichick created there in New England. So it didn't work out. To answer your question, what probably surprised me the most is just how bad it really was at the end of Belichick. There's the football stuff and the fact that what he said was just considered gospel fact. You don't refute it. You don't combat it. He really wasn't challenged at the end like he was earlier in his career, and he was open to getting challenged earlier in his career. Like Nick Folk, he was bad at kickoffs, so he wanted Nick Folk the hell out of there. And I mean, Nick Folk, he's missed like 2 kicks since then. He's been one of the most accurate kickers in the league. And somebody told me, it's Not the other 10 guys who couldn't get a tackle on Naeem Hines in that game. He blamed Nick Folk. So it's one example, but really the fact that they were just really stuck in the Stone Age in a lot of ways. The moving expenses for coaches, if you had a family, if you had multiple kids, it did not cover your whole family. So like an assistant coach would bring this to Drake Maye and say, this isn't like modern NFL stuff. And he just didn't really, you don't know what you don't know. So he'd be like, oh, okay, you're right. But then he'd waste half of the day, working through the bureaucratic nonsense, talking to this person, talking to that person to fix that problem. Like the sauna at the facility was a dump. It's falling apart. So then you waste time fixing that sauna. Like there's the offensive line coach wanted $15,000 worth of equipment, I was told. Not a lot of money by NFL standards. For me and you, what is that? Like a couple bucks. That took meetings and procedures and paperwork, and Drake Maye was wasting time on that. So it's like he was kind of getting pulled in all these different directions and so you're not focusing on the stuff that matters. You're not focusing on football. And on top of that, he didn't really have a vision for what he wanted his team to look like. Mike Vrabel, conversely, came in with a vision. He knew exactly what he wanted this team to look like. I'm sure a lot of your viewers and listeners saw his viral speech to the team, right? Where he's talking about showing up on time, turn to the ringer after our cell phone. If you're not going to be there on time, let us know. On top of that, I think it was Garrett Bradbury who first told me this, and a few other players chimed in as well. Like the dirty washcloths just kind of being left in the shower. Like he told players, or he told his equipment staff, I should say, like if players are leaving dirty washcloths on the shower floor, like don't clean them. Just wring them out and make them use dirty washcloths. Like you've got to respect the building, respect the program. It starts there. And the small things matter because the small things lead to the big things. And he knew exactly the kind of player he wanted. Like in training camp, you would have seen this every day. I was just told this by players, but like if somebody on the third string made a play, they were elevated to the second string. Right. And if somebody in second string made a play, they got reps for the first string. And if somebody struggled, they were demoted from first to second or second to third. It was merit based. It didn't matter where you were drafted. It didn't matter how much money you were making. It was very much a blank slate. And those who didn't want to buy in, who didn't want to play their brand of football, they were told, look, we'll find a team for you. Like if this isn't for you, there's the door, in so many words.
Yeah. It's all good stuff, and there's more that you just left on the table, so that's why people have to go subscribe. I will say the one part about Vrabel that we got a taste of early, and by we I mean the beat and the media stuff. Obviously, is not really important in the grand scheme of things. Everything we're talking about, but the kind of let's just call it salt, and like he's a little curt sometimes, and players have said he intentionally gets under our skin, and honestly, I know he's doing it, and it works as a motivational tactic, which is to bring us back to the point of rivalry. Josh and Drake get along. They share an agency. They're both seemingly wonderful human beings. I need Vrabel to kind of poke or throw some salt in here. And I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know how Sean McDermott would take that. It's a whole different conversation. But that's the one piece I'm waiting for, where Mike Vrabel should be coach of the year. They're super successful. But every good rivalry is not ending up with shaking hands at the end saying good game. It's more like, you can go after yourself and I'll see you next time.
We need more hate in professional football. I get it. That's a word. Right. I mean, it's a violent sport, and violent things happen in a violent sport. So there should be personalities that bring that to life. I don't know what their relationship's like. When a rivalry is at its best, it's palpable. I mean, I can sense it with the Packers and Bears right now. These fans are at each other's throats. And Matt LaFleur and Ben Johnson, they don't like each other. Like you can just tell. I mean, Ben Johnson took that shot at his introductory press conference where he said, all the respect he's got for Dan Campbell, all the respect he's got for Kevin O'Connell. And then he had the little smirk, the little smile, and said how much he enjoyed beating Matt LaFleur. I hear you. Like the Bills Patriots rivalry, it needs some juice. It needs something.
All right. What interests you most about Sunday? Because the stakes are obviously the Patriots win. They get the AFC title. That would be the first non-Bills champion since the Patriots were last AFC champs in 2019, which, in going back this week, I found was Tom Brady's last win as a Patriot, which was keeping the Bills at arm's length at a time. They were ready to take the division crown and had to wait their turn, and now they've done it. What are we not talking about enough ahead of this game?
Good question. Man, because we're talking a lot about Drake Maye, and I could
Yeah,
talk
and
about
Josh
him
and Vrabel.
forever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think you know what? You know what we're probably not talking enough about is Stefon Diggs. And it's a
Mhm.
storyline. I'm not sure what it's like out there. I feel like it has kind of like it ran its course and everybody is by and large kind of moved on. You can't overstate or overemphasize like the fact that Stefon Diggs, with the year here in Houston in between, worked his way to a division rival who was ready to win the division, ready to compete for Super Bowls. You had him in your house. Like he was your number one receiver. He was producing. He still can produce. And for whatever reason, you could look with these wide receivers and their personalities. You've got to be able to work through those personalities as an organization. And maybe it did reach the point of no return with Diggs, and it's best that they all moved on. I'm not saying that's not the case, but whether it's Diggs or whoever, like, look, they come with baggage. That's just part of the deal, man. Like if you're a wide receiver, you might only get 6, 7 opportunities to catch a ball in a game. You're going to go nuts, and everybody just kind of has to understand that you're going to go nuts and deal with it. And year one of
Yeah, the
Stefon
best
Diggs is
part
a
about
beautiful
that
thing
game,
too.
week 5, if you go back, that was this close. He was this close, about like 10, 12 yards from that being the most yards he ever had at Highmark Stadium in Buffalo, a place he played for 5 years. It was on his visit, his revenge tour that he got there. Now, since then, he's had over 70 yards just once. So part of that is him playing 55% of the snaps and them loading, managing his kind of load down the stretch. Obviously, still coming off the ACL, but I like the Diggs angle because obviously it was no accident that he leveled up in that kind of way. Like Mario getting larger after picking up some coins, like in Buffalo. That was his old team. He wanted to stick it to Sean McDermott and to Josh Allen to some degree, no matter what he said. And he did. I like that because it could come into play this week, and we'll see because Christian Benford is someone that, obviously balled out last weekend against Jamar Chase, but now is banged up, has a toe injury, apparently walking to boot. We'll see. But let's do
Mhm.
Patriots offense versus the Bills defense first because this is a matchup that I think has more. Let's see. There are many more ways that this could go versus the Bills offense versus the Patriots defense. I just don't. There are only a couple of different avenues that the Bills offense wants to or can take against this Patriots defense and vice versa. The Bills right now, though, as a whole team, zooming out as we do every week, 9-4. They're 10th overall by DVOA. They are 7th in offense, 22nd on defense, and 15th on special teams. In case you've missed their last 4 weeks, it has been a wild ride. 39-34, as we referenced, versus Cincinnati last weekend in the snow. They spanked the Steelers 26-7 in Pittsburgh the week before that. Then it was the loss to Houston 23-19 on Thursday night. Just a couple of dozen yards away, or maybe even less from winning that game, but still they lose to the Texans. And before that, they beat the Bucks 44-32 in another roller coaster game. So that's 3 probable playoff bound teams that Buffalo just went 2-1 over the last 3 weeks. People have gone, oh my God, they almost lost to the Bengals. Like, how could they be favored? Just take a second and look at their other games that happened before that, and remember Joe Burrow was playing. All right, Patriots offense versus the Bills defense. Do you start here with Diggs? Do you look at Drake Maye and how Sean McDermott might scheme for him? What are you looking at?
Boy, what I'm looking at is how are the Bills going to generate pressure? Because in that Cincinnati game, they played in their soft zones, and they just kind of let Joe Burrow deal. I mean, it was a backyard beach pickup football game that was actually played in the snow, and in those conditions, like you shouldn't see a quarterback like Joe Burrow so easily just boom, 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 boom. So eventually, Sean McDermott, I probably didn't really love doing it, him and Bobby Babbage, but you have to try something different. And they sent pressure, and Joe Burrow made him pay for that pressure. But then, Christian Benford, I believe he had the sack at the end of the first half, and then he had the pick six. They're going to be reliant on the big plays. It was the back-to-back interceptions too. You had the Benford pick six, and then Jordan Phillips, he gets a hand up, swats it up in the air, and AJ Epinesa corrals the interception. Like that's how they're going to have to get stops on defense. The run defense has not been good all year. The pass defense, against elite quarterbacks really has never been good. if we're being frank, like if we're looking at the best of the best, Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Drake Maye now, like they haven't just outright shut down. I mean, they did a good job against Lamar in the playoffs in the first half, but that's about it. Like they I don't know. I honestly I don't know where they get stops on defense. It's going to have to be turnovers. Now you tell me, is Drake Maye going to put the ball in harm's way? Because when it comes to accuracy, I can't get the image of him throwing that deep shot to Kyle Williams out of my head. I mean, I love the angle of it from the end zone, and you can see Drake Maye holding his follow through like Steph Curry, like somewhere at the 50-yard line. It's a beautiful sight. So I really don't know how the Bills are going to stop Drake Maye and the Patriots. They're going to have to rely on a turnover here or there, which they might get. Like they've got some playmakers on defense. Benford and his injury situation is one to watch because he's one of those players. But that's going to have to be how they survive against the best teams. Which, when you've got Josh Allen, you just need to steal a couple possessions.
Yeah, I think it's a good point because with their defense, I'm not as worried as much about pressure. Like they're still top 10 in pressure rate on the season. And, look, the more recent games matter more than what you did in week 1 and week 2. Just ask the Patriots, losers to Las Vegas, which gets more and more insane the more that time passes. But I look at this and go, okay, how do the Patriots want to attack? And in week 5, they were trying to bully them. Like Josh McDaniels bulked up. You play with multiple tight ends or running backs or just backs on almost 70% of your snaps. And so that didn't go well because Trevion Henderson led them with 24 rushing yards. And what evolved into is what you kind of described with, what the Bills have done with Josh recently. They spread it out a little bit more. And despite spreading it out, Drake Maye only had 3 passes that went 20 yards or longer downfield. Now he hit all of those, but when and how that he does take those shots, and you talk about the explosive plays and the turnovers, that's where the disguise piece is going to come in. Because when you disguise well, which Buffalo does, and even though Drake Maye has insane numbers against disguise, you just need the one pick. And it often comes downfield, right? Like you don't see a safety rotating over until it's too late. Or you misdiagnose how the corner's playing it initially because he was in bail and then he's, in soft zone, whatever it might be. And if they can fool Drake Maye once and capitalize immediately, which you mentioned the Benford sack, that was a great disguise on Joe Burrow, who didn't get fooled a whole lot. But when he made mistakes, they were backbreaking. And some of them weren't even bad mistakes. Like a tip pass is just not his fault. Those are the things that I think they're counting on in the same way that if you're running an offense, the defensive version of an explosive play are those turnovers or at least tackle for losses. Because I don't think the Patriots are going to be able to run the ball on the Bills despite that because they have the 30th ring run defense. You mentioned it. They just failed to crack number 31 and 32, which were the Giants and Cincinnati. So despite that, though, they can probably play the short passing game where Drake has lived and did in the week 5 matchup. It's just when he goes deep. How do those passes go? Because if one gets picked off, it's a lot of life for this Bills defense.
And Cole Bishop has had a hell of a season at safety. Jordan Poyer, a lot of Bills fans were making fun of the Bills, giving Jordan Poyer a call, bringing him back on the practice squad. Taylor Rapp goes down, DeMar Hamlin goes down. Suddenly he's a starting safety. But I've been impressed. I mean, at his age, at 34, I mean, he's on kickoff coverage units. He's going down and tackling returners. The dude just loves football. And I mean, there's some speed that has left his game, obviously, some athleticism that has left his game. But I think they're doing a pretty good job of not leaving him in compromising positions back there. And Bishop's been so good. So there is a way for Buffalo to get a stop or two the way you just laid out. But I don't know, like, and I'll have a story and go along on them Friday.
Down on the Bills. Yeah.
Just defensively, I'm hemming and hawing and hedging and going back and forth because it's just like, I mean, you've got a defensive-minded head coach who's been there forever. At this point, even with the injuries, even with Michael Hoyt tearing his Achilles, Terrell Bernard being in and out, Christian Benford, even with all this stuff, I feel like the defense should be in a place where you're not worried about it with the defensive-minded head coach. Like year 3 of D'Amico Ryan's here in Houston, and it's the best defense in the league. Like it's see ball, get ball. It's not overly complicated. Drake Maye is smart enough at, what is he, 23, to see what you're doing pre-snap and to adjust post-snap. Like I mentioned to you before we hit record, I chatted with TC McCartney, quarterback's coach there in New England last year. I'll have a piece at the site Friday, and he really breaks down. I mean, they saw it last year, which was just a brutal season. I mean, some really tough losses, and he took some lumps, obviously. But he could tell this is a quarterback with spatial awareness after the snap to kind of see what you're doing in real time, know where your weak spot is, and make those split-second decisions. It's hard to just go through a progression 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 after the snap. You've got to be able to just to see it, to feel it, and react. And they could tell he had that early. So how do you fool that? I don't know. I don't know if you can. I don't know if anybody really can.
Well, again, you don't need to fool him consistently. It's just when you do you maximize that chance?
One time.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
One time, because that is the stuff like you're saying, okay, if they're going to get a turnover, like that's probably how it's going to happen, if not the pressure. Where look, like, Greg Rousseau and Joey Bosa are still up there in terms of pressures. And I know Bosa's like a little banged up, and you got Daquan Jones, who was like, I'd imagine he still is thinking about how he had Drake Maye literally in his grasp, like grabbing at his chest plate, about to bring him down at the start of that game-winning drive, where Drake throws that 12-yard completion to Stefon Diggs, and you're like, oh, they've got a chance here, and then obviously go down and kick the field goal, win the game. I'll give you one more, because the big plays and turnovers, I think we can talk about every week, even though they're obviously really pertinent to this matchup. Hunter
I know,
Henry
and you know what? I hate that when you watch a game and it's like keys to the game, forced
Yeah.
turnovers. Like I hope that wasn't the takeaway here.
No.
We don't want to turn into that.
It's like they have to be gamblers, right? I don't have a whole lot of money.
Yeah,
If I want to win big, I've got to go all in. Like that's kind of what it is. Like
Yeah.
I can't sit here and
Right.
like win 55% of the pots or whatever it might be. I need to push it. Hunter Henry over the middle of the field. This is big because the Patriots ran play action on 42% of their dropbacks in week 5. And the Bills are still vulnerable against play action. Part of it is scheme with those soft zones that you mentioned. And Matt Milano is just not Matt Milano anymore. And Terrell Bernard's missing tackles as well, not great in coverage. Bills have missed 115 tackles, by the way, according to Pro Football Focus. That number is insane. You find different numbers in different places, but you get over 100, you're doing something wrong. Anyway, that I think is an area the Patriots want to attack early and often, whether it's play action or it's Bernard or Milano versus Hunter Henry, who we know Drake Maye has a ton of trust in. That's an easily accessible area of the field. And if it's not available, what will happen then is he has to hold onto the ball for another split second. And that split second might be the difference between Daquan Jones having him by the chest plate and watching him get the pass away anyway, and actually getting him by the chest plate and taking him down. So that's an area where if the Bills are able to control Hunter Henry and kind of mitigate their weakness there with those players and their scheme versus play action, that's going to take away a real strength of what the Patriots had going for them back in week 5 when they beat them in Buffalo.
Totally agree. I mean, you would love to get more out of Matt Milano. The injuries are piling up. He's getting older. He can't move like he once moved. He can't necessarily hit like he once would hit in the hole. That's an area if you're New England. I'm trying to think back at how tight ends have done against this defense. Mike Gesicki just last week. You could see Burrow's eyes were going toward him. And yeah, you've got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins out there kind of demanding attention that New England Patriots don't necessarily have that. But I feel like Henry's been a go-to guy for them from the start. I would fully expect New England to try to take advantage of those linebackers in Buffalo. And how are they going to run the ball too? So you don't expect them to run the ball that effectively against Buffalo, because I get it. Last week was a little better against Cincinnati, and even Pittsburgh, they did fine. But that's been such a problem for this team that you've got Drake Maye. You don't necessarily want to run the ball 30, 40 times, but I would think that there'll be an opportunity or two for Travion Henderson.
Yeah, and his game lately has been what you just described that the Bills have to do. And I've said this now for weeks. Like, the Patriots are not going to be your steady Eddie, high success rate running game that's reliable for 4, 5, 6 yards at a time. They can still get by if they hit enough explosives, which really means 2, 3, 4, and you're good enough in short yardage. They're bad in short yardage. Good news for them is Buffalo's also terrible defensively in short yardage. So it does come down to those explosives. And this is another battleground, whether it's the deep shots and whether those are completed or intercepted. Because incomplete, the Patriots will live to see another day. Intercepted is a different story. Hunter Henry, and then this. Henderson on the edge, where I think McDaniels will try to get him because it also stresses the Bills tackling. And it's where he's gotten all of his explosives, I think, all year. Because you see the 4-3 speed in space. How he gets to those plays, how he's used, I think is going to be really interesting. McDaniels always loves just to try to run it down the Bills' throat because they kind of have lighter personnel, and you know what you're going to get from them fronts wise, but it just doesn't always happen. To me, I think this is where you get a couple of jet sweeps, you get some reverses, some flips, all this different stuff, a little bit of misdirection where the point is just to get to the edge. You just don't know how they're going to get there. That to me is an interesting wrinkle, and I think they have to survive there because otherwise I don't see them running the ball.
Totally agree. Yeah, and I think you can get to the edge on this team with those missed tackles. Well, Bijan Robinson is a different kind of beast. Derrick Henry is a different kind of beast. Those replays are going through my mind right now, where you just see somebody get trucked on the edge. Trevion Henderson isn't exactly going to do that, but if they could somehow, you talk about Henry getting on those linebackers. I mean, get his speed at running back in one-on-one space against a Milano or a Poyer or a D lineman, and that could be the big play that you need to.
Yeah. All right. Bottom line, how does this play out? How many points? Give me like a range. Is there the turnover? And where do the Bills win, if any, with some of these matchups?
Man, I think New England wins. I really do. I think that they're the better team. They have fewer holes. And fans out there don't want to hear about the lack of competition. I mean, they're smashing teams.
Well, how about just the offense? Because we'll do the defense versus Josh, which is another.
Sure.
But like points wise,
yeah.
I think Drake gets to 24. Is it 30? Do they run the ball? Like who's having a big game at the end?
Oh, I think New England gets 31.
Okay.
At home, he's an elite quarterback. He's the MVP. Yeah, I don't see them being stopped consistently. I think the Bills get the ball back if they can, get a 4th and 3 stop or, pop a fumble loose. And look, I mean, this is early in the season, but that was a problem for New England. I mean, they had no business losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers, my God, or the Las Vegas Raiders. So who knows? Maybe some of those old demons resurface and the Bills can force a turnover. But yeah, I think they score 31.
You just made Mike Giardi somewhere listening to this, probably walking his dog, taking pictures of foliage that no longer exists in New England. Smile big because I just am sick of hearing about the Pittsburgh game. But you're right; those problems were there. And Ramondre Stevenson fumbled against the Bills, so we'll just put that to bed. I think they get somewhere between 24 and 28. The red zone issues have been big issues as of late. And Vrabel even said earlier this week, like that's going to be a big area of the game, which falls under the, what are the keys to the game? Tell me about all of the biggest factors in every football game ever played. But it's the truth. Like in those spaces, there's going to be a big difference in a game where even though the Bills are favored, it's only by a point. And the difference of 3 points versus 7 could determine the game, even if that's a trip made in the first, second quarter, or the third. So they need to convert down there. When you can't run the ball, that puts a lot more on Drake Maye in tight spaces. And I think ultimately they probably kick a couple of field goals when they don't want to. But still, 24-28 should be enough to win the game. So before we get to Patriots defense versus Josh Allen, I could call it the Bills offense, but I might as well just call it Josh Allen. I want to tell the good folks about Prizepicks because this Christmas, you can wait for your gifts under a tree or buy the menorah for Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or however you're handing out gifts and sharing joy. Or you could just log on to Prizepicks where they're giving you $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And I skipped to the end here because that's the best part. But if you like $50 in lineups, once you sign up for Prizepicks, create an account, download the app. This is how you do it because Prizepicks is the easiest place to win cash while you're watching sports. It could be basketball. It could be hockey. It could be Pats-Bills on Sunday. Take our takes, take the information. I'm about to give you picks because this is how easy it is. You find a player and they come with stats. You can tweak the stats sometimes, points, rebounds, passing yards, receiving yards, interceptions, whatever it might be. And you go more than, you go less than. Once you pick the player and the stat and you go more than, less than, boom, they get slotted into your lineup. You do that for 2 to 6 players. You lock it in. You use code CLNS. There's your $50 in lineups, but only at Prizepicks. So download the Prizepicks app today. Use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS over at Prizepicks. Your gifts are waiting. Prizepicks, it's good to be right. Hey guys, this segment is brought to you by My Forgetfulness. I just read a Prizepicks ad in the middle of that conversation with Ty Dunne, and I didn't give you my Prizepicks picks of the week for Pats-Bills. So here we go. Hunter Henry, as we just discussed, is going to be a big player in this game. More than 43.5 receiving yards. Flip side, Dalton Kincaid, I think, is going to see a lot of targets, which means you should go more than 41.5 receiving yards. And we're about to hear from Kayshon Boutte. So you know what? You can take 2 of these. You can take all 3. You can make your own picks. But we're going to add Kayshon Boutte more than 1.5 catches. Those are your Pats interference Prizepicks picks of the week. All right. Patriots defense versus the Bills offense. I said this only has a couple of different ways where it's going to go. Here are those different avenues. Number one, the Bills are going to bulk up and try to run the ball down the Patriots' throats because this is their new kind of identity for the most part. Like, they will spread it out, as you've seen. But if they can run on a defense that is now 17th by EPA, as the Patriots are on the ground, they'll take advantage of the Corey Durdens and Joshua Farmers when they're out there, and some linebackers that, still occasionally have some tackling issues. Number 2, Josh Allen is going to see some man coverage. Does he scramble successfully? Do the Patriots contain him in the pocket? We'll see. Number 3 is, how do the Patriots match up with Dalton Kincaid? Because whether it's Kincaid or man coverage or whether or not they can stop the run, and that's probably going to be in their base personnel, at which point Josh might go, let's run some play action. I'd love to throw the Patriots linebackers and safeties. I see the game coming down to those battlegrounds. Am I missing something, or which of those is most important in your eyes?
I think that whether it's the Patriots, these Texans, any team in the AFC that faces Buffalo, they're probably going to have the same plan of just leaving their corners out there on those wideouts and trying to just pen Josh Allen in. And will it work? I mean, they'd love to get Kincaid going. They'd love to get Josh Palmer going, but they've just been hurt. I think I'm hesitant to just kill Brandon Beane and the personnel staff for the lack of getting a wide receiver. Like, it is a real thing. Like, these receivers, they aren't getting separation. That being said, they viewed Dalton Kincaid as their number 1 receiving threat. They paid Joshua Palmer, was it 14 million, 13 million? Like, they gave him a pretty big contract to be that downfield threat. And they just haven't been able to stay on the field, and they've had to kind of evolve on the fly and force some receivers into roles they're not ready for. Now, the Keon Coleman draft pick is blown up in their face. He hasn't been a professional. Honestly, they probably could just cut him and send a message at this point. They aren't getting what they need to out of the receiving core. But they did score 30 points in 8 straight games last year. They were a player or 2 away from beating Kansas City in Kansas City and getting to a Super Bowl, with by and large the same cast of characters around Josh Allen. So if there is a formula that can work a year later, it's feeding James Cook, getting him going, and then letting Josh Allen kind of, with some ball handling stuff, with some play action stuff, with just letting Josh be Josh, do his thing. And it's not going to be one receiver that stands out. It's going to be a little Ty Johnson. It's going to be a little James Cook. It's going to be Dawson Knox had a big game in the snow. Kincaid, when he's out there, it'll be a collection of players. But I think it is a formula that can win. It is a formula that can score a lot of points. We've seen it. He was the MVP last year, and he's had his MVP moments this year. So, yeah, while it is a concern that you don't have a stud receiver who scares you, it's not a poison pill.
No, and it's a testament to their running game when you can say our MVP quarterback is our second option. I know that's tied to the receivers and the lack of production that you've had, but James Cook in this running game behind a great offensive line, and you can go by PFF grades or ESPN run block win rate, don't care. They're going to be up there. And so that combination is why they lead the league in yards per carry, 5.1, and why they lead the league in yards per game, which sometimes affected by game script. We know you win to run as opposed to run to win. But the point is, like, they're really good in this area. And the Patriots solved it partly by game script. They got ahead. Buffalo had to throw, but also because when they played 3-4 base personnel and they widened out in a traditional kind of front that people in New England are familiar with, it sapped some of the power of that outside zone game where they were able to set an edge. The issue now is Milton Williams is not around. And Kairos Tonga, his backup, is a little manged up. And the run defense as a whole has just kind of waned. So how the first quarter goes when they do run the ball is going to be really interesting. But again, even if, you stop James Cook, you're putting the ball at Josh Allen's hands. Like, that's not where you want to be. And how the Patriots handle play action or those throws to Kincaid when they are in base. Because if I'm the Bills, I'm going, sure, you're allowing a passer rating of 116 when you only have 4 defensive backs in the field. You want to play with Marcus Jones, not Jelani Tavai. All due respect. That's where, if they're going to attack the tight ends or the safeties and linebackers through their tight ends, which I think is what Buffalo do, you do that by getting more safeties and tight linebackers. Can I speak? On the field.
No, you're doing great, man. You dissected it all. I love it.
In base personnel is going to be really interesting. What have
Yeah.
other teams done when they've been able to slow James Cook as you watch this offense and this team?
Yeah,
Just
I'm
pray the night
thinking
before?
back. Well, he has had some fumble issues. He's coughed it up.
It's a great point.
That's been a problem. And I think it's personnel more than just trying to scheme something up that's been giving the Bills offense problems in general. And you'd have the best answer for this. And maybe that Milton Williams injury is a killer for the Patriots. But when they do face defensive lines that are hellacious and tenacious, like this one in Houston, they run into some issues. Like if they can just set a physical tone against this Bills front, not just making Josh Allen run all over the place, but like they got after their ground game too. They run into some problems. Like the Bills need to be the team that can physically set that tone. That
Yes.
2022 divisional playoff loss to Cincinnati was such a wake-up call, I think, for the Bills, where everybody was dying for a home playoff game. At that point, they were traveling to KC a bunch. They finally get that game. They did get it against New England, and that's the quote-unquote perfect game. So the listeners may remember that one for bad reasons. But they finally get Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes in their stadium. Yeah, they're the team that's pushed around because their roster was built for a dome. So they went out of their way to try to develop James Cook as a number one back, to beef up the offensive line, to build a certain temperament, a certain attitude, call more running plays, for better or worse. I'm not even saying this was a good adjustment because it's a big play league. Like if you want to win by stringing together 10 to 15 play drives, good luck, because one penalty, one turnover can nuke that drive. You still need those big plays in the NFL. But they wanted to be able to toggle between play styles and be a team that can air it out when need be and grind you down when need be. They fired Ken Dorsey in the middle of 23. They hired Joe Brady. Sean McDermott's fingerprints are all over the offense. They want to run the ball. Like they really believe that you win at the line of scrimmage. So will they be able to do that in this game? This is going to be such a test in that identity, because I still maintain that if the Bills are going to get to a Super Bowl once and for all and win it, you need Josh Allen in full. And yes, you want to get James Cook going. He's a great player. You don't want Josh Allen to be a handoff machine. You want him using his arm, his brains, his legs, everything, because you got Josh Allen and nobody else does. Now, it can't be backyard football when he can still get trapped and make a mistake. Like you want to get Cook going, but there's got to be some type of balance there. I'm not sure what that is, but this is the game. You got to find it.
Well, and I think the first half is going to be really telling in that respect, right? Like if you are able to, as people say, establish a run, but let's say the physicality point against a Patriots team whose identity under Vrabel now revolves around physicality, effort, and finish, and hitting you first, that's going to allow them to run the ball, run play action, spread it out if they want, and keep all of those options open. And in addition to, like, look, they don't lack for confidence, but when you have your fastball taken away, there's no way you feel great about, having to do things you're not comfortable with. There's also something to be said for the line of scrimmage in pass protection. And I have confidence that the Bills will be able to run the ball. How well is obviously, up for debate, and we'll see. But I do think it'll be at least a league average, and the Patriots will have to contend with that. Pass protection is going to be a big win for Buffalo, unless, and I think this is coming Sunday, the Patriots blitz a lot more than they did back in week 5, 2 months ago, because the Milton Williams injury, yes, has affected the run defense. He also led them in pressures that night and has led them in pressures for stretches of the season. Harold Landry's banged up, didn't practice today here on Thursday. And so you've got Caleb Chase on, who they're going to go after as a run defender, and Christian Barmore, who's had quarterback hits in 2 of his last 9 games, I think it is. It's not great. So the Patriots are really effective when they blitzed Buffalo in that game, but it was less than 15% of the time. So if you ramp that up and trust your corners on an island outside, and however you're going to deal with Kincaid, those blitzes, and you talk about big swings either way with the Patriots offense and the Bills defense, that might be the story of this side as well. If the Patriots are able to get a handle on the run game, what do you do when you roll the dice with a blitz? Because they're going to need to blitz, I believe, to get pressure.
There was a point in that Cincinnati Buffalo game where you could just see both defenses going through it, man. Like they had no answers. Al Golden for Cincinnati, McDermott and Bobby Babbage for the Bills in the snow. It's like they're throwing their arms up. What in the hell can we do? And both teams decided to blitz. And for Buffalo, it backfired, but then it finally paid off. Cincinnati, it just backfired because when they blitzed, what happened? The seas parted. Like you could have driven a snowplow through that hole that Josh Allen ran through for a touchdown. I think it was the 40-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter. And then on 3rd and 15, they elect to throw to win to keep Joe Burrow off the field. And there's no spy. There's nobody home. Josh Allen's able to bust through that line, run for 17 yards. So, yeah, you can send pressure. But, man, you need some lane discipline. You need maybe to have a spy more than you'd like. You don't want to just waste one of your 11 players too much. Just keep an eye on the quarterback. But those two plays did win the game for Buffalo. And Cincinnati didn't have anybody keeping their eyes on Josh Allen. So that's where he's still a weapon too. Is just he is liable to pull the ball and go at any moment. And that's how they've been able to beat the blitz, at least in that game.
Yeah. And look, his numbers against the blitz, like they are against basically every coverage, are really good. So when I say, oh, just blitz Josh Allen, I'm not here leaning back in my chair calling it a day or expecting the Patriots coaching staff to do the same once that idea hits. My point is, if you want to affect an elite quarterback, it has to be by two things. And it's not confusing him, as we just outlined with Drake Maye, who's already there somehow at 23. You have to force tight window throws and understand they're gonna hit some of those. Like a contested three in basketball, you get a hand in the face. Sometimes it just doesn't matter. Then you have to get pressure. And the Patriots got away with the 22% pressure rate, one of their lowest ones of the seasons, in that win against Buffalo. But if you ask the defensive coaching staff today, or told them, hey, you're going to do that again on Sunday, how do you think the game's going to go? They're going to go, not good, because it's too low against a guy like Josh Allen. Now, his numbers against the blitz are these. He's completed 64% of his passes for 8.8 yards per attempt. And there are some picks in there, but there's also a lot of touchdowns. So that's just the poison you have to pick against them. And then again, when that does happen, who's defending Dalton Kincaid? Because correct me if I'm wrong. They shouldn't be afraid of Khalil Shakir, who's a good player, but he'll win some matchups, lose some to Marcus Jones. Carlton Davis on the outside versus Keon Coleman, not a problem. Shavers, Josh Palmer, who's banged up, doesn't matter against Christian Gonzalez. But maybe Christian Gonzalez gets a little of Dalton Kincaid on third down. Do we get a little crazy here, Ty?
They should. I mean, really, if he's your best cover corner, I mean, put him where the action is. Like Dalton Kincaid is their best receiver. I don't know. Like I've just lost all faith in Keon Coleman. Maybe he makes me and everybody eat our words, but he hasn't shown much at all. He did catch a touchdown last week at the goal line, so I suppose there's that. But in terms of just winning one-on-one out wide, and until he proves it, you can't really be banking on anything. Now, Khalil Shakir, he has a bunch of catches. I feel like most of them are at or behind the line of scrimmage. Like he's just not out there running routes down the field. I mean, he relies on Yak, and they do a ton of screens. You're going to see a lot of wide receiver screens on Sunday. That's kind of Joe Brady's thing. So yeah, I mean, it's Dalton Kincaid is his team's greatest threat. So I mean, has Christian Gonzalez like faced off one-on-one against many tight ends? Is that something he does? I don't know.
He would have against Brock Bowers had he been available week one. Feel pretty strongly about that based on my conversation.
There you go. Then
that didn't happen. But like,
tell Braves, hey Braves, like listen to me here. Like you got to do this thing. You got to put Christian Gonzalez on the Kincaid.
I think they should at least on third down. But look, I'll never forget Steph Gilmore after the AFC Championship game when he ended up shadowing Travis Kelce in the second half. They had J.C. Jackson there, and they just couldn't deal with it anymore. And Steph, how was it? Travis Kelce's an all-pro. He's like, yeah, it was fine. He's slow. Like he was so dismissive of the tight end who's obviously slower than he is.
Gilmore was the best. Oh my God,
I love Steph Gilmore.
He was the greatest.
I
could talk about Steph Gilmore for an hour. Yeah, I mean, like back in those Rex days, he was so soft spoken, right? Like I think a lot of media members thought, oh, you're not going to get a lot out of Steph Gilmore because he's so quiet, but he's honest,
Yes.
unbelievably honest. I still remember they lost to the Giants 24-10 in 2015. There was a ton of penalties, ugly game, fights. And this is when Odell Beckham was like God's gift to football. Nobody said a bad word about him. Talked to Stefon Gilmore that Monday after, and he's just like, yeah, he's a prima donna. It's like your little brother. He just complains about everything, and
Yeah.
he's just going off on Odell, and there's all this backlash, and Odell has to respond, and like the next day in the locker room, I'm expecting Gilmore to come up to me and say, "Oh, you took me out of context," and he just smiled and said, "Hey, how's it going?" Like he owned it. Like
Yeah.
he spoke the truth, and he didn't care what anybody said. He owned it. It was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the best. Still is the best. I miss him. More than most guys, which is, there are other guys you miss that you come across in the locker room, but that Kelsey quote and the one he gave about OBJ was not that he would light them on fire. He was just honest. And like the longer you're in this
Yeah.
business, the more you treasure that kind of unvarnished honesty. I want to get out on this though before we make our game pick. So I think you've tipped your hand a little bit on that. Joe Brady. I asked Mike Vrabel yesterday, hey, is this more of a do what they do offense, or are they kind of changing their identity week to week? Of course, within the bounds and limits of their talent available, which is not great on the outside and is very good when it comes to the running game, hence them leading the league in rushing. What might he have up his sleeve? And how does he want to win aside from running the ball and those wide receiver screens? Do Bills fans have any hope? Is it morally frustration? Trick plays? What is he going to go to with his back up against the wall, which kind of feels like it is for the Bills?
I love the question. I think there is a trick play or two that they've got. I don't know what it is. It's not like I'm seeing this at practice, but I mean, I'm trying to imagine what the hell would have gone through D'Amico Ryans and Matt Burke and
Yes.
Will Anderson, all their heads, like if they would have lost that game on a fourth and forever hook and ladder. Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
busted that play out, and Brady and the Bills have to be pissed. Like, oh man, we showed that play, it worked, and we still lost. Um, but yeah, it would have killed the Texans to have the game they did defensively, and if they would have lost it. So I would imagine Joe Brady is, again, he's somebody that's been catching a lot of grief locally from fans. I think he is a really really good offensive coordinator. He's sharp. He's trying different things. Like they did beat the Pittsburgh Steelers and they pummeled them, beat them into submission. I mean, ran for more yards than anybody ever in that stadium without their two starting tackles. So he is resourceful. I got to think that there is a play or two, some trickeration that they have up their sleeve that they will use in this game. It's a huge game. Even beyond like playoff seeding and playoff implications, it's like you want to prove to yourself that you're still a Super Bowl contender if you're Buffalo. Like you've lost to teams like Atlanta, Miami. This is a team that you will have to get through in January if you want to get to the Super Bowl. No Mahomes. I mean, no Lamar, at least not the Lamar that we're used to seeing. Something's up with him, even if they get in, and he hasn't been the same. No Burrow, unless there's a miracle. Like this is your year, Josh Allen. This is your year, Buffalo. Like, and then all of a sudden here's Drake Maye. All of a sudden here's New England. So it's a test. I think they believe in themselves, but they want to go out there and go toe to toe and beat little brother here to prove that this is their year. Because they're gonna. I think they're gonna see each other again.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, that's rivalry, right? Like there are stakes, and you're able to take something that I want, and I'm able to take something from you. Like that's what made the Jets around, the end of the 2000s, early 2010s, that upset in the divisional round. Like Bart Scott's quote that everyone remembers, "Can't wait," came after that game because the Jets wounded you, threw salt in it, and did something in the playoffs you did not expect. Buffalo's done that now, obviously in the playoffs with that perfect game you mentioned at the end of 21, they just don't punt. The second time they did not punt against the Bill Belichick defense, which was in a scenario just like this one, December game, de facto AFC East title game, and they win. It was like 33-21. My point is, it's amazing that the vibes are such that pressure on Buffalo, have to win. Oh my God, prove it to yourself, and they're favored by 1.5, which is where I end up picking this game, not for the Bills, but 27-25 Patriots. And this is going to be Drake Maye at the end. This is going to be a giant party where the Patriots hit another game-winning field goal. at the end, because I just think Josh Allen will go God mode here, and they're going to be patient with the running game, and they're going to get enough out of there. But defensively in the red zone, they'll stand up enough, and Drake Maye will make the plays at the end. But this is, look, if you had that script and you just replaced Drake Maye with Josh Allen, I would completely believe it, because just that's how good he is and that's how good Drake is. But I got the Pats by 2.
I'm right there with you. I'll go New England 31, Buffalo 27. Buffalo hasn't been good on the road for the last couple seasons. They're I think they're right at 500. They just whatever, I don't know what it is. Like, things are out of sorts. There's more penalties, there's more turnovers. They're kind of in a funk offensively. But I do think, though, like, I think New England wins this game. Like I said, love Drake Maye. He has only gotten better and better and better in every possible way. The way he sees the field, the way he's escaping free runners. I mean, the touch on his passes. I mean, Josh Allen can throw it over the mountains. He's got the strongest arm in the NFL. But I wonder if you could get a receiver in an honest moment, like a Mac Hollins, who's caught passes from both Diggs. Like, I think they would prefer, like, catching the Drake Maye ball. It kind of just flutters right into their breadbasket, But watching his ascent has been awesome. I think New England wins the game, but I do think that the Bills will win the rest of their regular season games. They've got, Philadelphia's falling apart. It's a pretty nice, easy.
Yeah.
Cleveland, yep, and the Jets. So they'll get in. They'll be the top wild card, and if my math is correct, if New England's the number 1 seed, they'd face off in the divisional round, right? Back there at Foxborough.
Yeah, if they survive the wild card round.
Survive Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Look, I think everything's on the table. If they played again, and let's say the Patriots win Sunday, but they lose a divisional round game in Foxborough to Josh Allen, I'm not trying to get ahead of it, because I'm not picking that to happen. I'm just saying there will not be any honor lost in that, because of how just GD good he is, and how close these teams are, which unto itself is a miracle, by the way. Like 8 months ago in this podcast, I'm talking about, might they win 8 games, 9 games? Bills are at the top. They're the gold standard. It's going to take years. We saw their rebuild. 18, Josh was a rookie. 19, they pushed for a wild card spot. That's where the Patriots should be now, pushing for a wild card spot before taking over the longtime reigning division champion in year 3. This is year 3 now for that Patriots rebuild. Not 1, not 1.5, as I've been describing it. It's amazing, at least in terms of results. All right, you mentioned the TC McCartney piece. Something on the Texans is coming. Where can people listen to you, read you, everything?
I appreciate it, Andrew. This was a lot of fun. GoLongTD.com. Definitely got to check back in on those Patriots. Drake Maye this week. It's a special season, and sometimes it is kind of instructive to look back at the muck and how things went wrong and how a quarterback kind of works through all of that. And I think it was really admirable. There have some information on, like, the relationships that he had internally. Him and Jacoby Brissett were unbelievably close. I thought that was really interesting. So yeah, we'll have that piece. Houston Texans stuff. I've got a feature on a Bills player that I think I don't want to give too much away. It was one of the more compelling conversations I've ever had with a player in my career. I really, it made me kind of use every corner of my brain. That will be really interesting, whether you're a Bills fan or not. And I think that will probably be out next week.
Cool. All right. I can't wait to see it. Go subscribe. GoLongTD.com. Hope to see you soon, my friend. This was great.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Anytime.
Back with the 4-minute drill, Kayshon Boutte, fresh off of the bye, did not go anywhere. He hung out, and now he's hanging out with us on his first 4-minute drill on the Pats Interference podcast. But first, we're going to start with a fun fact. Kayshon, I dug this up for a radio show I did this week. Are you aware that you have the most receiving touchdowns of any receiver the Patriots have drafted the last 20 years?
No, I wasn't aware. I'm not really a big statistics guy. I just go out and do what I got to do.
Does that make you feel any kind of way? Because it's a long time. It's like almost as long as you've been alive.
I'm at 6.
You're at 9 for your career.
Oh, 9 on my
for your whole career. You've had more in your career than any receiver the Patriots have drafted in 20 years.
Oh, no, I never knew. That's crazy, actually.
Okay, that's crazy. That's like an answer we like to hear. 4-minute drill goes like this. I start the clock, ask as many questions as possible. Kayshon will answer. Once it's up, it's over. Let's go. Pop Douglas told us he has an alias when he gets in an Uber. Doesn't give a real name. Do you give a fake name when you're in an Uber?
Oh, no, I give my real name.
How often do you get recognized, and then what happens next?
A couple of times, but I mean, it's really low-key. I think it's more on DoorDash that I get recognized than Uber. So,
do they hang out on the porch, outside the house? How do you handle that?
No, I just leave it at the door.
Smart man. What shows are you watching?
I'm not really a big TV guy, honestly. Just finished Stranger Things, but I'm more of a game guy. So,
What do you think so far, season 5?
I think it's great. It took them long to make it, but I think it was worth the wait. So yeah.
I agree. We still got halfway to go. Have you ever cried during a movie?
No.
Ever come close?
No.
Man, Antonio Gibson's the only one who said yes to this question, and it's The Notebook. He says every time. Does that make you feel any kind of way?
Nah, I mean everybody's sensitive to their own topics. So I mean, it might have been something that really made him feel a little down about it, but I can't control that. So.
Yep. All right. Girls would have said this about me in high school.
I don't know. I feel like not everybody got dimples, so I think that was one thing I heard a lot growing up.
You got dimples. The girls like your dimples?
Yeah.
All right. You were a top 30 overall recruit in high school, wanted everywhere. You stayed home. You went to LSU. But in your recruitment, give us the wildest visit or story or offer or perk that you had when you were being recruited.
I don't think it was really no crazy story. Okay, so
Yeah,
it was this dude. I went to LSU game, and I forgot who they beat. It was in the locker room after the game, and there was this dude eating pizza, and he was dancing. And then he jumped up in the air and did a split. And I was just like, whoa. Like, that might have been one of the craziest things I ever seen. But I think aside from that, it was cool.
This was in the locker room? Where was this?
Locker room, yeah.
Okay, did you meet him? Was he there when you went to school? Did you get his name?
I watched the video to remember who it was, but I don't think I remember as of now. So.
All right, this teammate thinks they're a good trash talker. You disagree. They got some work to do. Who is it?
I think Diggs a good trash talker. I don't really listen to too many people on the field. I be in my own zone, but I think Diggs talk a lot.
Anybody talk a lot that maybe shouldn't?
No.
Okay. You're a serious Madden gamer right here. All right. Assuming you play with the Patriots?
Nah. So I switch my team up every now and then, but I mean it's cool.
All right. You've thrown a touchdown to yourself at some point, I assume?
Yeah.
How many touchdowns, excuse me, have you thrown to yourself in a game, like the most?
I think I went maybe 12 catches, 280 yards, 4 touchdowns.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Have you ever told Drake, I'm better at being Drake Maye than you are?
No.
I mean, but on the sticks, maybe?
Nah, I ain't never told him.
All right, Josh McDaniels calls out sick Sunday. You come in, Coach Vrabel goes to you. Kayshon, you play a lot of Madden. You call some plays. We need you to call plays today. You do it. How many points are you guys scoring Sunday against Buffalo with you calling plays?
I think we might score a good bit. I might not be too good on anticipating the coverage, but with the Madden concepts, glitch plays, I might got a little bit in my bag. So
Like 30? 30 burger? 40 burger?
we might go 30. I'm confident with 30. 40 might be pushing it though. Yeah.
Unless you get to lay it on thick after. They are in the division. I've called you a player who's matured more than any I've covered in the Patriots in 8 years. What's the biggest difference between Kayshon Boutte today and the Kayshon Boutte we knew 5 years ago?
I think just growth. As everybody get older, they grow. So I think just noticing myself, knowing habits that I want to change, who I want to be, goals I got to accomplish for myself. So just working every day to get there. So.
All right, this corner is better than people know. It could be on the team or across the league. Doesn't get enough respect.
I think DJ Reed was actually one of the better cornerbacks I went against. I think he's on the Lions now, but I think just because he's sharp, people don't really give him as much acknowledgement as he's supposed to get. So.
All right, cool. 2 more. The corner that I catch touchdowns in practice, I'm happiest to do this against. The one guy in practice, I catch a touchdown to him. It gives me a bigger smile than most.
I say nobody, honestly. Like I say, I'm really always open.
Even in camp?
Nah, in camp, we just working at the end of the day. So, there's not really nobody I'm excited for.
Okay. Who should we interview next, and what should we ask him?
That part, I don't know. I think that's a y'all question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody you want to put through here?
Nah.
All right. Yeah. Kayshon Boutte, as cool as we've ever had here in the 4-minute drill. I got nothing left. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.